Well, hello again everyone, and welcome back to Kovac Enterprises, where we are working on the Superman Monogram kit for the Classic Plastic 101 tribute build for Chris Cortell. It is hosted by Kenny May and Daniel Leroy. Thanks for doing that. This last couple of weeks I haven't had much time to do any building on the bench here because work related at the jail that I'm working at, so I had to work several different shifts, day and night. So this is about as far as I got with it, but decided to go ahead and shoot this video for you. So without that being said, here we are. You can see that we've went ahead and pretty much attached all the sub-assembly parts of his body. And we've been doing a lot of putty work for around the seams and the gaps associated with attaching the arms to the torso, as well as attaching the lower body as well. So kind of take a closer look now. Two items I use for puttying for this kit is the Vallejo plastic putty. It's acrylic based, so it's waterproof. It's easy to work with some of your smaller gap areas, and for any of the bigger seams and gaps, we went ahead and chose the Bondo glazing and spot putty. So let's go ahead and take a closer look here. Go ahead and start with the head. We did have some gaps behind the ear, so we went ahead and applied the Vallejo acrylic putty to close that up, and then we went back and sanded it down a little bit. If you recall, we had some injection points from inside the head where the locator pins are at. We went ahead and applied that as well, smoothed it out, so that is ready to go, as well as top of the head itself. In order to keep the hairline structure on there while the putty was still a little soft, I went back with basically a file and put the hairline grooves back in place, and then let that harden up overnight, so we still maintain our detail. So that is the head. As far as the figures, as you can see, we went ahead and attached his arms, his torso, and his two halves of his trunk and legs, and just figured it'd be easier to display it on the base here and put on the turntable so we can take a look on all sides. As far as around the above the belt line here, we did have some real small gaps there, so that's where we used the acrylic putty from Vallejo. As far as where the arms attached to the torso itself, we went ahead and used the Bondo plastic putty, or plastic glaze and spot putty, and sanded that down with some 320 wet sanding paper, and then went back with some 600 wet sanding paper around the edges. So that's nicely smoothed out now. We'll go around, take a look at the back side here now. And as you can see, we did some more work on the back side of the arms itself, nice and smooth, get out all the gaps and the seams. And as far as, you have two halves on either side here, we have one big seam line going down here, so we went ahead and applied some more of the glazing and spot putty, wet it down a little bit, and then came back with some 320 wet sanding paper and smoothed that all out. So that is now ready to go. So basically at this point, we're going to go ahead and he's ready for priming with some, I'm going to kind of use some gray primer and spray that on, and that'll be our next step. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. And we're back, and as you can see, we've went ahead and primed Superman up. And basically what I used again was some acrylic Craft Smart paint. I went ahead and used the gray, as you can see here in front of you, and of course, you know, we mixed it up with some windshield wiper fluid and went ahead and airbrushed the entire figure along with his head. And of course, you know, when you put on the primer, you can really notice the seam lines that I missed. But just kind of gave the pointer here. You can see I still have to kind of work on this seam line going down the inside of his arm here. A couple little areas right here as well. And let's go ahead and take the head. We'll kind of take a look at him there. But like I said, with the primer, you can really brings out the detail of the face, which looks really good. May have to do a little bit more touch up here around the seam lines here, smooth them out a little bit more. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. All right, set that off to the side here. Bring him in a little bit closer. Like I said, we'll have to kind of go down the line here a little bit. I see a little bit of a seam line coming down here and a little bit down here going into his boots, as well as like the side of his torso. So have to do a little bit more work of that. But and of course, here's the back side. There's a little faint seam line going along the outside of his arm right there. The trunks are looking pretty good. You can see maybe right here as well. I'll have to smooth that out where the spot putty was at, so I'll have to sand that down a little bit more too. But like I said, they'll do a little bit more work, as well as on this side here. I'll probably end up going ahead and re-sanding this all down here and try to get it as flush as possible. You can see here too, as far as along the lines here, you can still see our seam line here too as well. But it's one good thing about spraying some primer. What you can't see with the since this was molded in blue, it's a little hard to pick up on. So once we put the primer down there, we can see where we missed and go for round two. Yeah, and also, of course, this is, you can see where the seam line is going right down the middle here, where the two halves were put together here. So have to do a little bit more work on that as well. But we're moving along, and I'm enjoying this build because I am a Superman fan. But like I said, until next time, we will be updated with a future video and the progress that we're doing. So until then, everybody have a good weekend, and we will catch you on the flip side. Later. Bye.